Budapest is an awesome city that I recommend you visit. It has incredible sights, incredible architecture, incredible thermal pools, and incredible day trips. Hi, I'm Michael, traveling the world, and I'll give you a guide around the city I visited this summer, Budapest. The video will be divided in the following sections: Geography, Buda, 1896, Margaret Island, Bridges, Parliament, Andrassy Ut, thermal baths, food, and day trips. I'll cover each of the day trips in more detail in my future videos, so let's get started. Budapest is located in Central Europe in the nation of Hungary. Do not call it Eastern Europe. The locals will be mad. The locals in the former Warsaw Pact countries, which include countries like Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, Czech Republic, and others, don't appreciate it because Eastern Europe to them is Romania, Moldova, Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, and the Baltic states. The city is divided into three main parts and is located in the north of Hungary. The parts are Buda, Buda, which isn't really considered a part of the city, but it technically is, which means Old Buda, so it's technically part of Buda, so remember that. And Pest, or Pest. Nowadays, Buda is considered part of Buda, like I just explained, and Buda is now mostly the Castle Hill, and Pest is the Parliament, and all the businesses, and all the 1896 stuff. They are divided by the Danube River, and they were originally two cities, and they became one state in 1870, 3 years after the Austro-Hungarian Empire was established, because Austria already had a capital, but Hungary didn't, so they decided that they would be Buda, Buda, and Pest. Buda, like I told you, was considered part of Buda, and then the names were combined, and it was called Pest Buda. That sounds awful, right? So they renamed it Budapest. So Budapest sites are so historic that it will take me a lot of time to explain it, but I'll do my best to explain most of the history in this video so that you can get background information and have a better time. So for now, let's start with our sites in Buda. Buda has two main sightseeing areas, the Gellert Hill and the Castle District. Let's start with the Gellert Hill. It's a great place to get views. Why is it called the Gellert Hill? Hungary became a Christian country in 1000 under Stephen I, who's declared a saint. He brought a monk named Gellert from Venice to teach his son Christianity, but some Hungarian crazy people, rebels, polytheists, put him in a barrel with nails and rolled him down this hill. And that killed him, obviously. So, also on this hill is a Citadella, which in 1848 Hungary tried to become an independent from the Austrians, from the Habsburg Empire. The Hungarians won the first battles, but the Habsburgs defeated them only with the help of the Russian government. They built a fortress in 1854, the Citadella, which literally means fortress in Hungarian, to keep an eye out for those rebels so they won't rebel again. Let's move on to the Castle District. Castle District has three sites: the Royal Palace, Matthias Church, and the Fisherman'sBastion. We'll begin with the Royal Palace. This palace was built in medieval times to defend Hungary from the Mongols, and King Matthias rebuilt it in the 15th century, making it one of the most luxurious palaces in Europe, and it happened during Hungary's Renaissance. And fun fact, he brought in Italian architects. After his rule, the Ottomans invaded Hungary and used it as a military base, and then Hungary became part of the coalition led by the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, who was not a holy, not Roman, not an emperor, let's make that clear, not holy, not Roman, not an emperor, to defeat the Ottomans. The Habsburgs who were the Holy Roman Emperors at the time, had stored gunpowder in the cellars. It then exploded with taking the royal palace with it. It was then rebuilt and then destroyed again. Yay! During the 1848 rebellion and then rebuilt again. It was then destroyed again during the battles between the Nazis and the Soviets during World War II. Then it was rebuilt again. And yeah, the palace has very little of its original charm. It was not rebuilt very well. The only thing that's iconic is the Green Dome, which never existed before, but it does have a few museums like Gary National Gallery and the Budapest History Museum. So, let's move on to the Matthias Church. That will be more interesting. Let's move on to the Matthias Church. However, you can't skip what's in the middle. In the middle, there's the Sándor Palace, which is the residence of the Hungarian president. There you can see the changing of the guard every hour on the hour. Then there is the Court Theater, which was where Beethoven performed in 1800. Until recently, it was home to the National Dance Theater, but then a few years ago, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban became jealous of the president's lavish life and moved his office from the parliament, which is across the river, to the Court Theater, forcing the National Dance Theater to leave. Let's move on to the Matthias Church. Matthias Church is named in honor of King Matthias Corvinus, who was the last king of Hungary and also led Hungary in its Renaissance days. After the Arpad dynasty, the dynasty that founded Hungary and named after the first king, Arpad, died out in 1301, Hungary was ruled by elected foreign leaders with the exception of King Matthias, who was a Hungarian king. He was the son of János Hunyadi, who was a very great military leader, and he stopped the Ottomans from being in Hungary. Hungary's foreign leaders continued to die, so one of the Hungarians decided to have Hunyadi's son be the leader. Born in 1458, he was a truly Renaissance man and was an art fan during his life. Palaces and music and art took off in terms of quality in Hungary. He was also very well educated and caring for the poor. For that reason, he dressed simply and often went into towns to see how horribly the nobles treated them. He also created the first powerful military in Central Europe and made peace with the Ottomans. With his military, he invaded so much of the region. He invaded Moravia, Bohemia, and Austria. In 1485, he moved to Vienna to his new palace. He then died 5 years later. Then the Ottomans invaded the areas he had conquered and for 150 years, they ruled them. Speaking of Ottoman defeat, Matthias Church Loreto Chapel has the statue of Mary and Jesus, which was important to the Turkish defeat. Well, this is legend, but whatever, I'll say it anyways. When the Ottomans invaded, all the churches became mosques. That is fact. And Matthias Church isn't an exception. All the statues in the churches were covered up by plaster and carpets. Then the explosion from the Royal Palace in 1486, like I said, make the plaster fall. Now, there's the legend part. According to legend, this spooked the Ottomans and they fled, making it the only part of town retaken without battle. The exterior was made to look flashy, with the spire only created for the 1896 millennial celebration, and the best part of the building is the tiled roof. So let's move on to the Fisherman's. Bastion was where in the Middle Ages the fish market in Budapest was, which gives the Bastion its name. The current one, though, is a rebuild made for the 1896 millennial ceremony. Its 7 towers symbolize the 7 tribes that founded Hungary in 896. The statue between the church and the Bastion is Saint Stephen, the first Christian king of Hungary. He established law and order, private property, and converted his people to Christianity, whether they wanted to or not. The Buda funicular, right up on the castle side, there's a turtle. That's the mythic bird that I guess brought the Hungarians to settle where they are settled now. The Buda funicular was built in the 1870s. By the way, the turtle is all over Hungary, not just at the Buda funicular, but at the top of the Buda funicular says. So I'm talking about it just now. So the Buda funicular was built in 1870 to transport workers to Castle Hill from the chain bridge, which we'll talk about in a minute. But then let's talk about Margaret Island and see what's going on there.